His Super Bowl halftime show just set the internet on fire, but not for the reasons you might think. Instead of headlines being dominated by his ongoing feud with Drake, the real controversy came from 125 official FCC complaints. And trust me, some of them are absolutely wild. So what exactly happened? Why are people losing their minds over Kendrick's performance? And what did he do that has certain fans calling it offensive and inappropriate, while others are calling it one of the best halftime shows of all time? We're diving into the drama, the outrage, and the real message behind Kendrick Lamar's performance, so make sure you watch till the end. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl Takeover. Super Bowl LIX was supposed to be just another night of legendary sports moments and halftime show magic. And when the NFL announced that Kendrick Lamar would be the headliner, fans knew they were in for something special. After all, Kendrick isn't just a rapper, he's a storyteller, a poet, a cultural force. And when he hit that stage, he delivered. From the second the lights went down, the energy in the stadium was electric. Kendrick kicked things off with a high-energy performance, blending his most iconic hits with deep, meaningful visuals. It wasn't just a concert, it was a statement. Every movement, every beat, every lyric felt intentional. And while the audience in the stadium was absolutely losing it, there was an entirely different reaction happening in living rooms across America. Because while some saw art, others saw controversy. The FCC complaints. What were people mad about? So here's where things get crazy. The Federal Communications Commission, FCC, received a whopping 125 complaints about Kendrick's performance. Now, if you know anything about Super Bowl halftime shows, you know that complaints aren't exactly uncommon. I mean, who could forget Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake's infamous wardrobe malfunction? But this time, the backlash had nothing to do with a malfunction. It wasn't even about his feud with Drake, which had been dominating headlines for weeks. Nope. Most of the complaints were about the content of the show itself. People accused Kendrick of being too political, of using his platform to push an agenda, and even of being disrespectful to American values. Some viewers took issue with his lyrics, others were upset about the imagery and choreography, and some people just flat out didn't like what Kendrick was saying. One complaint reportedly stated, "This is supposed to be a family-friendly event, not a platform for radical views." Another called it divisive and anti-establishment, saying that Kendrick's set felt more like a protest than a performance. But was it really that controversial? Now, let's be honest. Is anyone actually surprised? Kendrick Lamar has never been the type of artist to play it safe. His music has always been about truth, struggle, and the reality of life in America, especially for Black communities. From All Right becoming an anthem for social justice movements to the deep messages in To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick has always used his platform to challenge the status quo. So why would anyone expect him to tone it down for the Super Bowl? Still, it's interesting to see just how divided people were. On one side, fans and critics were calling it one of the best halftime shows in history. On the other, some viewers were so upset they felt the need to file official FCC complaints. But here's what's really wild. Barely anyone complained about Drake. Where's the Drake drama? Let's take a second to talk about something that seemed like a surefire part of this controversy, Kendrick's beef with Drake. For weeks, fans had been wondering if Kendrick was going to take a shot at Drake during his Super Bowl set. The rap feud between the two has been one of the biggest stories in music, with diss tracks, subliminal messages, and industry insiders weighing in on the battle. But guess what? That's not what had people mad. The FCC complaints barely mentioned Drake at all. Instead of outrage over a potential diss track, most of the backlash came from Kendrick's overall performance, his message, his imagery, and the themes he chose to highlight, which just goes to show Kendrick didn't need to focus on Drake to make waves. Kendrick's response to the controversy. So how did Kendrick react to all of this? Did he back down? Apologize? Explain himself? Yeah, absolutely not. When asked about the backlash, Kendrick reportedly responded in classic Kendrick fashion, saying, "The truth always makes people uncomfortable. That's the point." And honestly, he's not wrong. Every time Kendrick Lamar takes the stage, he delivers more than just music. He gives people something to think about. Whether you love it or hate it, you're talking about it. And that means he did exactly what he set out to do. At the end of the day, this whole situation raises a bigger question. Why are people still so uncomfortable with artists using their platforms to speak out? Because let's be real, Kendrick isn't the first, and he won't be the last. From Beyoncé's Black Panther-inspired Super Bowl performance to Eminem taking a knee during his halftime show, artists have always used this stage to send a message. It's a tradition at this point. And whether people like it or not, music has always been political. So is the backlash really about Kendrick's message, or is it about the fact that he refused to sugarcoat it? That's something to think about. What's next for Kendrick? With all this controversy swirling, what's next for Kendrick? Well, if history tells us anything, it's that Kendrick thrives under pressure. Every time people try to come for him, he comes back stronger. Maybe this controversy will inspire a new project. Maybe he'll address the backlash in his own way, through his music, his visuals, or even his next public appearance. One thing's for sure, this isn't the last we've heard from him. Where do you stand? So now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance was too controversial, or were people overreacting? Do you think artists should use their platforms to make statements, or should they just stick to fama? Let's get the conversation going. Drop a comment below. And of course, if you support Kendrick Lamar, smash that like button.